Hey guys, before we jump in today's episode, we have some exciting news. We recently partnered with TruePro. They're a great place to buy strings, grips, and tennis apparel. Use discount code Painting Lines, that's one word, for 20% off store wide. You can find the link in our bio.
Ready?
Welcome back to Painting Lines. Last week we broke down the Paris Masters, and this week we are joined by a special guest, Ivan Yatsuk. Ivan is the CEO and one of the co-founders of Recruited, which is revolutionizing college tennis recruiting. He was actually also a high-level tennis player himself, even having an ATP world ranking at one point. So welcome on, Ivan.
Thank you guys. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So, Yvonne, before we jump into Recruited and how that works, I just want to talk a little bit more about your background in tennis. So, just talking about your recruitment process, you were a high level recruit in high school with the 2017 recruiting rankings putting you as the number 35 recruit nationally. Were there any highlights that you had as a junior player that you felt helped you stand out?
I actually didn't know I was 35th in the national recruiting, but that's good to know. Yeah, actually my process was pretty interesting. I wasn't really that well known by coaches. I don't think coaches knew I was like even looking to go to college. I met my coach at a tournament by playing one of his players at a futures. My coach, Ashley Fisher, played one of his players, kind of started talking to me there. Then we started like emailing back and forth. And yeah, pretty much all the way up until I signed. He's the only coach I really talked to. And I met him right before summer started in 2017. And that summer I got my first ATP points. And then I came back. He watched me play a few practice matches against some pretty good players where I did well. And that was the kind of the moment that I signed with USF.
Okay, so it was very much just one school the whole way.
It really was. I mean, I signed for USF after the summer, and then I had a big result at the Eddie Herr where I made the quarterfinals. And after that, I had a ton of coaches actually start reaching out to me. But at that point, I had already committed to USF.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Uh, and then moving into college, what was it like playing college tennis for you? Like, what was it like balancing school and tennis at such a high level?
It was way different. Kind of growing up and playing juniors and futures and stuff. I kind of like didn't have to do much. Traveled around with my mom. She kind of helped me out with everything and stuff. And then getting to college, just having to go to class, having your own responsibilities, doing your own laundry. There's a lot more I had to do, so it was quite an adjustment. It was tougher to focus on the tennis. There was so much going on. I had like a pretty slow start, like result wise.
I'm sure it must be interesting too, being like in Florida, because we've had some guys on in the past, but like uh, one of them went to Cornell at the same time we did, and that's not really a big, I guess, much of a party scene or interesting area. I feel like being in Florida has got to been a much more entertaining sort of social life.
Definitely, there's a lot of distractions in campus. So
Yeah.
Ivan, can we just back up a second? So where are you from? When did you start playing tennis? Just kind of go more into your tennis career before college.
absolutely. So I was born in Belarus. So for anyone that doesn't know, it's in Eastern Europe, bordering Russia, Ukraine. My parents actually won the green card when I was like 3 years old. We decided to move to the US. First moved to Pittsburgh because that's where a lot of our friends back from Belarus, that's
Yeah,
where they
yeah.
lived. So moved to Pittsburgh, lived there for like two to 3 years. I think that's when my dad like kind of like randomly bought a racket. I don't know, just started playing tennis. He started coaching me, and then we moved to Georgia after like a few years. Spent like a year or two in Georgia, and then I don't know, kind of started playing tennis more and more. And we knew that like Florida was really good spot for tennis, especially like Bradenton, Sarasota, with like IMG around, all these clubs, all these really good tournaments. So basically moved to Bradenton, Florida when I was like 8 or 9, to basically for my tennis. And from there on, my dad was probably my main coach until I was like until I was like right before college, basically. Every day after work, I'd like have he'd coach me. And then in the mornings, I'd play at some clubs. And then when I was a little bit older, I train at Longwood with my coach, another coach, Travis. But yeah, those are kind of my two main coaches, and that's what I did.
Nice. So you can speak on the father-son coaching dynamic that, like Casper Ruud, Stefano Tsitsipas, like
Andre
Eh,
Agassi.
yeah,
Agassi.
I'd say you lean more towards the Agassi Tsitsipas side than the Rude side for sure. But
Oh, that's funny. Oh, great. Thanks for the background. And kind of now that we know more about you, let's talk more about Recruited. Just like give us the overview. What is Recruited? High level.
yeah, so it's been almost it's probably been about 10 months since we started it, and kind of the whole idea has actually changed a lot. We've been learning a lot of things since doing this, so it kind of started off differently than it is now. But starting off, the whole idea was my partner Antonio, he went through an agency when he was getting recruited, and they kind of like didn't do a very good job. They just like kind of gave him a few schools that they knew and kind of like threw him in there without telling him much. And that's what a lot of the agencies do. And so we were like, yeah, there probably has to be a better way. Surely there's like a platform we can create where coaches can just connect with players through like different filters like GPA, budget, stuff like that, and then just get a perfect match.
Hmm.
And yeah, launched the site a few months ago. It's been going well, but what we realized is like it's not like a dreamland. Like it's not going to be like, oh, like a coach puts these filters on, connects to this player, and it's perfect. He's going to sign him. Like there's other factors involved. We're still working on trying to get more people to log in and stuff.
Hmm.
We're actually going to the coaches convention. I'm going to the coaches convention in Dallas in a few days. We're presenting some cool new stuff on our site. We came out with like an AI transcript, GPA transcript translator. So like if a French player, for example, has his transcripts, the player or the coach can go on the site, upload it, and it would like translate it to GPA. So we're kind of trying to like find more ways to provide value basically for players and for coaches outside of just like them matching with each other. Um, and then also 2 months ago, we a lot of players did ask for like extra help, so we do kind of offer the agency services as well, where we do work with them one on one, contact the coaches for them, kind of help them out and guide them in that way with their transcripts, their visas, pretty much the whole process. So we're doing that, and then yeah, the longer term goal is to go into all the sports and basically try to make this kind of like the social media platform of college sports. We have like a feed where you can post, parents can sign up. Obviously, we have the players and coaches signing up. Just have this whole like interactive database, pretty much.
Yeah, totally. That sounds awesome.
So is a big part of it for the international kind of players, like you were saying with having like the French transcript idea is like you have a bunch of players from outside the US that are trying to come in and play in college.
Yeah, a ton. I'd say maybe 70% of our players are internationals. Again, probably the less you know about kind of college and the whole process, the more you need help. And obviously internationals do know less about college tennis and college sports in general.
Yeah. And how do you kind of judge the like not the value of a player, but like the skill level of a player? Is it like there's videos connected to your account, or how does that work?
I mean, luckily with tennis, it's I think it's much easier than other sports. Like UTR is such a.
Mm,
I mean, there's obviously issues with everything, like with every ranking. There's little small issues, but UTR works like extremely well.
yeah,
Coaches just that's really the only thing they use. You can check on a roster and see like this roster has 10 to 11 UTRs, and if you're like if you're an 8.5, you can't get on. Like with tennis, it's like much simpler than something like soccer, for example. UTR is so prevalent that it makes things easier.
100%.
Would you guys say that you can find a college for, what if someone wasn't that good at tennis to play Division 1, Division 2? Like, would you set them up with Division 3 schools as well?
Yeah, I mean those are the those are the players we worked with the most that kind of get
Hmm.
less exposure and need the most help. Um, Probably like the guys who need D3, NAIA,
Yeah,
D2s.
yeah,
Those are the guys that need the most help. But we have helped like the top players as well. We just helped place one of our other partners is Bruno, Brazilian who played with me at USF. And we
Mhm.
got this kid Pedro Rodriguez. He's like a 13 UTR. We helped him get into UCF. He got a very good deal. So we do work with the high end too.
Yeah, well, 13 high level player going in as a freshman.
Yeah, he's very good. I think he finaled a futures or won one recently. So he's good, very good.
Yeah, I know there was a, I think it's called NCSA, but same type of deal for like college football recruiting. I know it's basically an agency, you pay, you upload your film, and then I think you have someone who's dedicated to you. It's kind of like a mentor or someone that like helps you write emails to coaches or like sends your film out there. But
Exactly. Yeah, NCSA is more prevalent for other sports.
hmm hmm
And again, it's way more geared towards like the agency side. Like the actual site doesn't bring as much value. It's more like the site's there, and then the agency is the biggest part. We're definitely trying to make the site like very, very prevalent to where like people are genuinely using it to like help getting recruited. And then we also have the agency.
Yeah, I like the social media aspect of it too, because I know Twitter or X was huge for college football recruiting.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like it's like I would get DMs from coaches even or
Oh
like
wow.
yeah.
Hmm.
But no, it's cool. So where do you guys where you're based out of Bradenton, right? Do you guys have an office? What's it like running a company?
So nothing crazy, no office or anything like that right now. Been able to do everything remotely. That's the cool thing with this. It's a tech company. Everything we do with recruits is like again talking to coaches, emailing them. I mean, I'm going to the coaches convention next week. I obviously traveled to some academies and stuff, but in terms of a physical office, I just go to the library here. There's like a college, it's State College of Florida. Just go to the library, do work. That's where I am right now, actually. But so yeah, I'm in Bradenton, and then Antonio's back in Spain, and Bruno's in Brazil, and he's traveling around playing pro doubles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Have you guys raised any money?
we have we've up to date been able to raise 150,000.
Wow. So was it the idea that you pitched or did you have to have like some kind of proof of concept to then raise the money?
I mean, to be honest, we were pretty early for an investment, like pretty
hmm
early on for an investment. We just started making money, and we got the investments even before that. I think it's just the people we knew. It's just the people we knew, and they trusted us. They liked the idea, they like tennis, so that's
hmm
mainly why it worked. It would have never gone through like a normal venture capital,
Yeah.
but we like the people we knew just helped us out a lot. And one of our investors is a part of a pretty big venture capital group. And if we do need to raise more capital once we're a little bit more off the ground, that'll be an option for sure.
Yeah. Well, if you have any family and friends around, I would love to get into that.
Would have been more
Nah.
difficult for you to get money if you were doing recruiting for something like lawn darts or something really random.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's crazy. There's college sports now for pretty much ever like anything. I saw cornhole and I think pickleball is gonna start being a college sport too. It's
I mean,
crazy.
I know some places have like esports as well, right?
Yeah.
Esports.
Yeah. And they're giving scholarships and stuff for esports.
It's pretty
Wow.
wild.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
I don't see how pickleball won't be a college sport very soon.
Oh yeah, I know. Especially with the younger people who are growing up playing it too, because it's one thing for an adult or even a college kid to pick it up, but it's another thing for someone who's young to grow up and play it.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see like how a young kid would pick up tennis over like pickleball or pickleball over tennis.
Yeah, I
hmm
mean, I actually was at the courts recently, and like the court next to me, they were setting it up, and it was a bunch of little kids going to play pickleball. And it was kind of shocking to me because I was like, why would you go out there and at that age when you could learn how to play tennis
Right.
instead choose to play pickleball? But I guess it is easier probably to have fun early on as a kid. Like you can feel like you're doing really well if all you have to do is kind of smack the ball instead of actually try to learn how to correctly hit it with a tennis racket.
Exactly. I mean, the skill gap with tennis is so high. If you start
hmm
off and you don't do very well, it might get frustrating pretty quickly and you might just quit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you played pickleball or
I
padel?
have played pickleball and I haven't played paddle. I've played pickleball and I can say I'm not a very good player.
What?
I'm
Doesn't
not
translate.
it doesn't really translate for me. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, it doesn't.
Interesting. So what do you do day to day mostly? Like is it something new every day? Do you spend a lot of time talking to clients, or are you out in the field kind of like trying to raise money, trying to build a website? Like what is your role in all this?
Yeah, recently, the day to day is just interacting with anyone who signs up for a site, either coach or player,
Hmm.
messaging them, being like, "Hey, thanks for signing up," asking for feedback, getting them on calls. And then the second part is the players that we do have signed, obviously trying to place them in a school, contacting a ton of coaches, asking them what they need, setting all of that up. And then the development side as well. We have our developers. It's a Spanish company. They outsource to Sri Lanka, and as well, just working with the developers, meeting with them, writing out documents on what we need. So yeah, for now, it's kind of like those three things.
So with all that, do you have any time to still play tennis?
I do.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Yeah.
I
Got
do.
to get the priorities, right?
For sure, got to get that cardio in. Yeah,
That's
I've been
cool.
enjoying it. I've been enjoying playing a ton since I've stopped college, so it's been good.
Yeah. Nice. So why don't we talk about the industry overall? Like I feel like college tennis it is kind of growing, right? I feel like there's a lot of good publicity around it. I feel like it's getting more coverage. The competition's a lot better. I feel like this has got to be good for your company. Like, do you study trends? Like, is college tennis actually growing, or is it just this feeling that I have?
No, no, I think it's growing. I don't have the exact numbers, but even just the fact of like how many college players are now playing pro and doing well. I believe there's 13 or 14 guys inside the top 100 who have played college, and then just like a ton who are like around from like 250 to 100 who are doing so well now. You look at the swing of challengers that just happened into guys like Spizzeri, Monday,
Yeah.
James Trotter. Like when I was at Northwestern, we were playing Ohio State, and like James Trotter was playing next to me, he was playing five, and now he's like 190, 200 or something like that. So it just shows. I mean, the competition in college is very good.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Aiden and I were at the US Open and we were watching a doubles match. It was Thompson and Purcell versus Nuno Borges and his
Hmm.
partner. And we were sitting in front of like this old white guy with a, I think, Texas A&M hat.
Hmm.
And we just kind of started talking to him because he was really rooting
Oh
for
no, was
Nuno.
it
Like,
wasn't like South Carolina or something?
I think it was A&M.
No,
Okay.
Nuno's Mississippi State.
Oh
Mississippi State.
yeah,
Yeah.
we were
So
both wrong.
I know.
You had the
Anyway,
colors right
Same
though.
color,
yeah,
same color,
the
same color.
colors. But I just like had to ask because he was really rooting for him. He's like, yeah, my son's his coach or something, and it was just cool to see like the connection there between because Nuno, I think he graduated what 2019, 2020,
Yeah, it's been a
but
while, like 2018 or 2019.
but still, yeah, college tennis player, and he's got his coach's dad coming out to support.
Yeah, the team aspect is super cool. I think tennis can gain a lot of fans by like people supporting their teams, coming out and watching like dual matches and stuff, getting more connected for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, and at the same time, it does seem like we talked about this is bringing in a lot of international players. What do you feel like the difference is between like European or international development of players at a young age versus like America? Like, is there a different style that like international players develop versus Americans?
Yeah, I'd say the main differences are um in Europe, definitely it's like more technique based and focused. Coaches really pay attention, even from experience with my dad. And then I used to travel to Belarus every summer and train in the national academy there. They're just very like detail oriented, technique. Kind of like a coach in Europe would like stop you way more and tell you you're doing this. And in the States, it's more like just a more general overview of tennis, not as detail oriented, which I'm not really sure which is better. Sometimes it can be too much. Like if you really delve into the technique, it can kind of like mess with your head. You can overthink. It depends on the player too, for sure.
100%.
Personally, what's helped me is probably having a little more freedom on the court, not really focusing so much on the technique, but just like my game in general, competing.
Right on. How about the actual like if an international player wants to play college tennis, when does the recruiting process start for them? Like it's got to be way before, junior, senior year of high school, right?
So right now, all of the guys we're working with for fall 2025, we're kind of working with them now. I'd say the ideal time to start is like a little more than a year before you go.
Oh, okay.
Maybe April, May the year before. So it's not that
Gotcha.
not that. And I was asking a few coaches when they're starting for fall 2026, and it was kind of like February, March, sort of there.
hmm And in Europe or internationally, for those players, it's basically they play college tennis or they pretty much go pro or not go pro, right? There's no college sports, is there?
No, no.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yeah, the US is really the only place that does this with college sports.
Yeah, I feel like it's such a great opportunity.
It is a great opportunity. People love it.
It's
Yeah.
kind of weird in the U.S. because now we're getting all these the NCAA's almost collapsing. It seems like with all the NIL stuff.
Oh, that's another thing. Do you guys work those deals too? Do you try to get NIL deals for clients?
We have for one client, but it's really only the top players that would get it. It's not like football, where
Oh, I
where
know.
where a ton of players would get it.
Yeah, dude,
But
some football players are making over $1 million a
I
year as like
know.
18-year-olds.
Yeah, so it's only really the top players, but one big change that's happened is kind of like for Division One, the 10-man roster caps. That's kind of affected things a little bit. If you're like an 11-5, you used to be able to get on like a pretty good D1 team and even like be a walk-on and stuff. And now it's just kind of like not possible. They have like 10 man rosters. Some schools just give out 10 full scholarships. So
Oh,
it's changing a little bit.
wow. So what are your thoughts on team tennis, like Davis Cup and all the other team events? Is that something, do you think tennis was, because it's not meant to be played as a team, but I feel like the whole team aspect kind of works, right? Especially in college.
Yeah, I mean, people love Labor Cup, obviously.
Hmm.
People love college sports. I think it's good to mix it in there. Not maybe fully go into team-based tennis, but really experiment with it and see how it goes because people love supporting a team. That's how you can get more fans into it.
Nice. Can you speak on the college atmosphere? Because I know it's crazy, right? Like, I feel like it's excessive celebrations after every point. You have people who try to spite each other. Like, if there's a close call, you might call it out. And then as payback, there's like a serve that'll hit in the middle of the box. You're like, nope, out. Like, it's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it can get pretty brutal sometimes. Our coach was a very very fair guy. To be honest, he wouldn't like let us hook and
Mm,
stuff. Not that I would want to, but in that
yeah.
in that aspect, he was very very fair. So we really didn't have that many scandalous things happening. But yeah, you see a lot of clips on Instagram and stuff with some pretty outrageous calls.
Yeah, I know. And then the fans too, they get into it.
Yeah. My freshman year, we were playing like Virginia, who was like ranked number 3 at the time, I think. Um, I was up 3-1 in the clincher. A ton of people watching, just like a few hundred people watching, huge crowd, and just completely let it get to me. End up losing 6-3, and I still think to this day it's like my most brutal loss.
Oh,
Yeah, you can get those. I mean, Virginia, pretty big school, so get a lot of
Yeah,
people there.
yeah. When we played them, Brandon Nakashima was there at that time.
Oh, okay, wow.
ooh.
Um,
He's
took the
doing well
double,
on tour
yeah,
now.
took the W in doubles against him, so that was nice.
Anyone else you played against that's like pretty famous now?
Nakashima's probably in like a sanctioned match the best player I've faced. But I've played a lot of good guys in college who are like 200-300 now. Yeah.
Do you think the camaraderie aspect kind of helps for tennis players? Because I know obviously it's a very individual sport, but we interviewed Sam Querrey at one point, and he said he used to love playing world team tennis back when that was a thing because he just loved being able to like have people on his team that he could be rooting for and be going for the same goal with, which is something that you don't really get in tennis. Do you think that helps players going to a college team and feeling like they're part of a sort of a system for the first time?
For sure. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I didn't really like try playing pro. Just the fact of like traveling around, it's expensive, gets lonely. You lose like a match one week, you have to wait a whole week or more to play the next one. You kind of like don't know what to do. Like a lot of those factors really contributed to me and not playing pro. So for sure, it's amazing to be on a team. Like definitely, all 5 years were fantastic in college for me.
When did you know that you weren't going to play pro? Like, was it kind of a after a match, a split second, or was it kind of a gradual thing where you're like, this life's not for me. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
be an
I've
entrepreneur.
always had my ups and downs with it. I was even like my last year at Northwestern, like at the end of the season, I was still like debating whether I should do it or not, really going back and forth on it. And then basically since me and Tony started this, I was like, okay, I'll just do this. I like it a lot. I'm very hesitant about the pro tennis. So this is fun. I can just play by myself, play a tournament here and there. I actually played two tournaments like 2 months back. Had a good time, did pretty well. So it's not bad.
Nice. So, what tournaments are you playing?
I played two money tournaments that are like pretty close to me.
Hmm.
Lost in finals of both in a super tiebreak, which was pretty upsetting, but
Wow.
that made me definitely not want to play pro. But
Yeah, I know. Do you show a lot of emotion on the court?
it depends. It depends. I used to, I used to like, get pretty upset on the court. Then as time kind of went on in college, I definitely like calmed down, was able to become way stronger mentally.
Hmm.
But I still have my outbursts here and there.
Just like
That's
throwing
fun.
the racket like Medvedev has been recently.
It happens. It happens sometimes.
If you could compare your playing style to anyone on tour right now, like who would you say you resemble the most?
Um, do you Petchy Pericard has been on the rise recently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
So you're a
just like
big server, huh?
yeah, I have a big serve. I'm like 6'6", so I just have a big serve. One-handed backhand like him.
Ooh.
Nice.
So yeah, probably very similar to his, but at the same time, I do I still do have the ability to make balls at times and just like kind of like grind. That used to be my game back in the day before college. I was like actually a way more passive player. And as
Hmm.
time went on, I kind of like became much more aggressive in my game.
Mm.
Gotta shorten those points.
Got to shorten those
Takes a
points.
toll on your body.
It does. And running side to side, the whole match is not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only Deminar can do that.
And he's not even doing that well right now. It's at
I
it.
mean, he's in the ATP finals.
He's not doing well in the ATP
At the
finals.
ATP
Yeah.
finals.
Do you have any advice for like younger players that are looking to play in college? Like, other than obviously signing up for your website, do you have any like advice for what they should do?
Oh yeah, just the normal cliche of obviously like training hard every day. Um, I'd say analyzing your game is like super important. Just like watching your matches to see what you did wrong. Not just like getting angry after a match. Oh, I lost. I'm like terrible at the sport. Just like recording a match, watching it, seeing what you did well, not seeing what you did well, seeing what you did poorly, and then yeah, just work on that in training. Work hard, but also like work smart. Know what you're doing on the court when you're actually training. And obviously like not overworking either. Better to get a few hours in, doing the right things than just like overplaying for no reason
Yeah,
And then
100%.
sign up for recruited.
and recruited all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it definitely understandable. Like a lot of people definitely especially in tennis when it's just like a very you win or you lose, you can get in your head and be like, oh, I'm just terrible. But you can definitely learn from a lot of your losses as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's how I used to be, which I regret a little bit. Definitely like after losing a match, just completely being negative and not really thinking back on like what I did wrong.
Yeah.
Is something I definitely improved.
The coach is like,
So
you hit 10 aces in a row. You're like, yeah, but I lost. My serve sucks.
in college, how many coaches are on a staff? Because you have how many people on the roster? Like
Usually
10,
8 to
8 to
10.
10. So during a typical practice, is the coach focused on one player at a time usually, or how does it work? Are they
So
just kind of
we usually had team practice every day for
mhm,
2.5 hour, 2 to 2.5 hours. And it's two coaches, so two coaches per eight guys isn't bad at all.
mhm.
Obviously, you can give a decent amount of attention to people, and then we'd probably do individuals like 2 3 days a week, where it was like 1 to 3 guys per 2 coaches. So that was pretty nice.
Nice. Yeah, I almost forgot my favorite question, Aiden. So what are some good tennis workouts that you guys would do?
Oh yeah.
Good tennis
Yeah,
workouts.
because like for example, I just started getting into tennis workouts and it's like a lot of plyometrics, a lot of kind of
Mhm.
boring like banded stuff. You know, you're not getting under a squat rack or a bench press and moving heavy weight like I was kind of used to. I realized, you know, being big doesn't necessarily help that much on the tennis court. It's more about being quick and flexible and explosive.
I mean, just honestly, a bunch of explosiveness workouts and footwork. I think that
Hmm.
that's the main thing. Like you said, plyometrics with the band, sprints, quick change of direction, and then again, I think like stretching is super, super important. Being able to get to that one extra ball, keeping more injury free is definitely super important. But yeah, I've definitely started hitting the gym more for like actually like bench press and stuff after college, and I've been enjoying it a lot as opposed to like a lot of the fitness we did.
Rotator cuffs.
Yeah.
Uh,
So not just like sitting under a squat rack with 400 pounds on the bar, having the whole weight room yelling at you. That doesn't help you in tennis.
that unfortunately does not.
I've been doing a lot of medicine ball slams, like throwing them against the wall, all that.
That helps. That helps.
Uh,
Core strength critical. So you want to get into fast money now, Eric?
yeah, fast money. Let's do it. So, what's your favorite tennis memory? And you could say watching and playing.
Playing was probably my quarterfinals to the Eddie Herr um, run. I was like an alternate. Ended up somehow getting into qualies, ended up qualifying, and then winning 3 matches again in the main draw.
Wow.
Obviously, my coach was very happy he had me signed already, and that felt very good. And then this is going to be very controversial, probably, but
Uh-oh.
watching
Love it.
maybe Djokovic with that comeback against Fed at Wimbledon.
Oh,
Very
Oh,
that is
controversial.
100% going to be controversial.
that is going to be a hugely controversial statement, but I'm a big Djokovic fan, and as bad as I felt a little bit bad for Federer that day, I can never root against Djokovic.
Yeah. The craziest thing that I remember about that match was that I don't think Djokovic broke Federer's serve a single time until like
He
the
didn't.
very end of the match.
He didn't until Federer was serving for it. He didn't, and I remember my whole team in the chat was obviously rooting for Fed the whole time. And then when he lost, everyone was just devastated. I was the only guy smiling.
Yeah. Just absolutely a crazy thing to be able to break at the one time when it's really needed.
40-15 down. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I didn't really start liking Djokovic till a couple years ago when you just kind of got to respect him and you grow up and you mature and you kind of realize like, dude, this guy's a fucking mental giant.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
You just
mean,
you have to respect it with all that he's
You
done.
have
It's
to.
crazy.
I one of my favorite matches ever that I mean not probably not my favorite tennis match that I've seen, but that French Open final with him and Tsitsipas in 2021
Uh,
when he was down, it just he wasn't playing his game that day, and then all of a sudden he just like settled in, and all of a sudden you just started to see Tsitsipas break, and you're like, oh my god, this game is, and all of a sudden you felt like Djokovic was gonna win even though he was down 2 sets.
I mean, it was weird. It was like the most comfortable 2 sets of love comeback I've ever seen.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, he's someone that at 2 sets of love, like you don't even count him out. You kind of just are like, all right, like start to come back, do it now.
No, he's probably being 2 sets to love down. I'd be surprised. He's probably like even when he's been 2 sets to love
Yeah.
down.
I
Yeah,
feel like Alcaraz is kind of a guy like that too.
For sure, for sure. He has that same mentality as Djokovic.
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, even like the U.S. Open last year, he was down in like the third round or something, down 2 sets to love, and it was like it was just some I think it was
Lost
like
Legere.
uh
Wow.
yeah, and you're like it doesn't feel like he's losing. It feels like
No,
you're like
no.
okay, maybe it's Jerry has a chance now.
Like even this year against Popper, and you'd think like you were surprised he still lost after being two sets to
Exactly,
love down.
exactly.
Yeah, we were watching that. Remember on the balcony?
No, yeah, that was crazy.
I know. All right. So, who's your favorite player on tour right now besides Djokovic?
I don't know. I like a lot of the college guys that are coming up that are like from
Hmm.
100 to 200 that are just breaking through that I kind of played with. I know this isn't
Hmm.
an answer like one guy, but I kind of like obviously follow tennis a lot, follow the challengers, and I like to see everyone that I kind of like played with doing pretty well. Um,
Nice. How about favorite surface to play on?
mm, it's changed a lot. It used to be clay, like I said, I used to be a more passive player, but nowadays it just has to be indoor hard with me destroying serves everywhere.
Spraying. Are the tournaments you play in, are there a lot of indoor hard?
No, the one tournament I played was hard though. There was clay.
Mm.
I do
And
like clay
it's
a lot though. It's easier on the body. It's just nice. It's actually like nicer to play on. I don't know if it's better for my game, but it
yeah,
feels nicer to play on.
I feel like
yeah.
you also just feel really cool when you hit a nice shot and slide, and you're like,
Yeah, it's
I
really
definitely looked
nice.
pretty awesome when I hit that.
Yeah, it is. So in Florida though, you have the hard shoe, right? You're not playing on red
Yeah,
clay.
it's that green clay.
Is it any what's the difference?
I
I
think
know they're
it's a little thinner, which
uh
makes the ball go a little bit faster. Playing on that
gotcha.
red clay, it's like thicker. The ball like sticks in more and just gives you more time to play.
Yeah, there's some nice red clay
Mm-hmm.
on the Upper West Side in New
Mm.
York, and I just played doubles because I have a little bit of a knee injury, as Aiden knows, but I was playing doubles on it, and it is pristine. And then like Central Park, for example, is the hard true, and it's not as consistent, I would say. Like it was a lot of they just also don't groom the courts very well there, so
Right.
that doesn't help. All right, favorite shot.
It's either backhand or serve. My backhand's always been my best shot. I love hitting it. Backhand, it still has to be the serve though.
Dude, I'm surprised with a one-handed backhand, you're not a Federer fan.
Everyone says that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I like Federer, but just Djokovic, his personality, not even his game, just him.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh
like a
yeah.
lot.
He's like, you know
Agreed.
what? I hate Federer, but I actually like Dimitrov.
Yeah, what about Tsitsipas?
It's a
He's very strong mentally.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like I dislike him or like him.
Right,
He's
right,
fine.
right. All right.
But
What's
if but
your
if he's watching this, I like him a lot.
yeah, exactly. You and Paula. What's your go-to celebrate?
That's brutal.
Yeah, your go-to celebration.
My go-to celebration, honestly, like
Come on, don't tell me you didn't celebrate.
I did, but honestly, maybe my best celebrations have been like not really doing anything, just like a cold walk away. Some of my
All
best
right.
matches that I've won, it's kind of been like I stayed completely focused, no emotions really, and just
Nice,
just came through it.
nice little stare down at your opponent.
Just a stare down, that's it.
Yeah, I guess that's a celebration in and of itself, huh? So,
Even more towards just looking towards my coach,
mhm.
watching him, just watching him be in awe. I think that's it.
I think a funny celebration from this year was in that French Open final when Al- uh, Alcaraz hit that ball that tipped off the net, and then he like did the little hand like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then as soon as Zverev turned around, he's like, "Oh
He's like,
yeah."
that was awesome. Speaking of coaching, what's your take on coaching being legal now on the tour? Like, do you feel any type of way towards it, or are you kind of indifferent?
um, it's an interesting change. I think right now it's only like you can coach if you're on the near side. If your coach
Hmm.
is like on the near side, I've thought about it, and I just think it goes both ways. There's obviously positives to it, negatives, but at this point, like it happens so much anyways with like the hand signals and stuff that you might as well just let people coach.
Yeah. How much would you lean on coaching when you played in college? Because
Um,
they could stand right next to you, right, and coach you right
yeah,
up during the match.
when it depends, like sometimes things would be absolutely flowing and going well, and my coach would just like completely leave me alone and know I have things under control. But then, like if I'm getting a little frustrated and things aren't going well, I definitely needed some coaching.
Cool. All right. Where can the listeners find you? Or do you guys have social media? You know, you have a website.
Yeah, our biggest thing's obviously our platform, like we talked about, just
Mhm.
recruited.pro. We'll eventually try to buy out recruited.com.
Nice.
But for now, again, recruited.pro and same thing on Instagram, which is our biggest social media by far. Just recruited.pro.
Awesome. So Aiden, you want to explain this next part of the podcast?
Yeah. So now we have the segments portion. So we talk about a new news topic we saw for the week. We go through a bet of the week, and then we talk about our match of the week. So if you want to just stick around, maybe give some comments on what we have to talk about here, we can jump into that.
Sure, of course.
Alrighty, Eric. What's new in tennis? What'd you see this week?
All right, so I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but I'm sure everyone's well aware of John Wertheim's comments. He was on Tennis Channel and he had a hot mic and he didn't say something too nice about a WTA player, but I want to talk about Kyrgios's comments toward John Wertheim because John Wertheim, he's like a pretty famous tennis broadcaster, journalist, and he was very critical of Nick Kyrgios when Kyrgios like was rude to Anna Kalinskaya, Sinner's
Yeah.
girlfriend, and Kyrgios he kind of got his revenge. So when like all the news was coming out about John Wertheim, Kyrgios tweeted embarrassing, and so I just think it's kind of ironic, kind of payback in a way for John Wertheim for being a hypocrite. But I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he just got caught in a bad moment. Yvonne, I don't know if you heard about it.
I actually have not heard about it at all.
No, okay.
No.
So John Wertheim was on air and he thought that it was a commercial break or it was a commercial break, but his mic was still live and he was talking about Barbara uh Kotreva. I'm totally botching the
Krejcika,
last
I
name.
think.
Kotrevika.
Krejcikova.
And he's like, he was fixing his camera angle because he was on Zoom. He's like,
Mm.
oh, look at that angle. Like, what am I, Barbara Krejcevich? Like that forehead. He's like, look, check out her match against Zhang. Complete eight head. Like just completely shitting on her forehead. And
Just
yeah, so
unnecessary.
once yeah, very unnecessary. And then
Wow.
that got leaked. Tennis Channel basically suspended him indefinitely. So he's off air. He put out an apology on Twitter and then served. I don't know if you listened to Served with Andy Roddick. So that's Andy Roddick's podcast. John Wertheim's basically his partner. He's on every single episode. And they put out a video where he was, doing a public apology. He's pretty down bad about it because I feel like he worked so hard to build up this like fantastic tennis journalist career, and just within 5 seconds, it all came crashing down.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, always got to be aware of the hot mic, man.
yeah. I know.
Not gonna not to say like he should have said it on not hot mic, but like
Well, that was like part of his apologies. Like, yeah, I didn't know I was on a hot mic.
yeah, that's also like yeah, that's still like
uh,
not the best way of apologizing.
yeah, I know, but yeah, we'll see how this thing plays out. I'm curious to because I haven't listened to this week on Serve, but I'm usually a pretty active listener. I wonder if he's on it.
When was this again, the comment?
3 days ago.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wild.
All right, Aiden. What about you? What did you see this week?
Well, mine's kind of about the ATP finals. So obviously, kind of building up to it, I was my what's new like every week was about is Djokovic going to play? Is Djokovic not going to play? And obviously, he ended up pulling out at the end. And according to an article from Tennis 365, he walked away from what they said was likely around $1 million by not playing in Turin. Uh, and that would have come from participation, possible match wins, and sponsorships. And while Djokovic did say like, oh, it was because of an injury, it kind of feels as though he would have played in years past, and just because of where he's at now, with obviously winning the gold medal this year, and he leads in the Grand Slams and all these things, he kind of just doesn't have the motivation to play. And so it's crazy that that amount of money just wouldn't be enough to kind of entice him to come play in this.
I mean, I don't think $1 million is anything for him. Like he doesn't
It's,
even think about it.
it's
Yeah,
pocket change
which
for
is
him.
pretty wild.
I know. I
It's
wonder how much the alternates make.
Like, probably a good amount. I mean, they don't play, but they probably get an appearance fee for just being there, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and then maybe if they do play, then they're entitled to the full amount. Or
Well, there's you get paid apparently according to this article like per match you play in it.
mm,
So I'm sure like last year we had like Herkoch and Fritz both step in as
hmm
alternates, and so like when they played, I'm sure they got a good chunk of change.
Yeah, I saw somewhere that Alcaraz was like he's kind of sick.
Hmm.
They're like floating the idea of him possibly pulling out, but I don't think he will. Dimitrov's next up, Aiden, your boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a bummer he couldn't make it by himself, but
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if Alcaraz starts off 0-2, maybe he bounces home.
yeah.
Yeah. Starts going to the clubs, resting up for the rest for
Yeah.
the end of the season. All right. How about bet of the week? Who are you taking this week?
So I was looking through actually a bunch of weird bets this week because I didn't really want to take any like of the straight up odds because I usually go for that underdog bet. And so this week I'm actually going to go for Sinner versus Medvedev after 4 games, it being 2-2 at plus 100 odds. So a little bit convoluted of a bet, but
Really? That's interesting.
I don't think Medvedev immediately implodes.
Yeah.
So I think he maybe will hold on for a little bit. I do think it probably will get out of hand uh, at some point because based on their previous few matches, Sinner has kind of had Medvedev's number. But I was just looking for the positive odds. I found this one. It seemed kind of reasonable for them to at least be even through the first 4 games. So that's what I'm
I
going
mean,
with.
it's very reasonable. Just obviously, like the last few times haven't gone well for him, but like indoors with his serve, I feel like that's a nice one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the issue I think with him is like you look at like the Six Kings Slam. Even he just got kind of decimated by Sinner too. So everything's kind of going Sinner's way.
Yeah, that's a perfect lead up to my bet of the week because I was looking through the lines and everything just felt very lopsided. So I'm also going to take Sinner, but I'm going to take him with the score being 2 sets to love, and that's minus 150. So my rationale: Medvedev is 1-7 in the last 8 matches against Sinner. He got that Wimbledon last year, but I feel like this compounded with his confidence after his Fritz loss, like hearing him speak in the press conference, saying how, he feels like everyone can hang in rallies with him and he's not playing as well, or he's playing well, but just not getting over the hump. I feel like this could potentially be a quick one, especially with the way Sinner has been playing this tournament, lights out against Deminar and Fritz, both 2 setters. So I'm guessing he's going to beat him in 2 sets.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a reasonable bet. I mean, how many times have I brought up that Miami match just because of how one sided it was and how much Medvedev looked completely lost out there on the court?
Yeah.
So I think it's a reasonable bet, especially because Sinner. I think Sinner wants to back up the fact that he just got that year end number one, and he wants to finish out the year strong.
Making a statement.
Yeah, I like both, but I'd probably go with the 2-all one, just a little better odds, and you know,
I feel like the
I,
2-all one, you could probably hit that for 90% of tennis matches, like how they start.
Yeah, I
That
feel like
just I think that's a great bet.
yeah, we got to be looking for that more
I
often.
know, seriously.
um,
Uh
yeah. So how about match of the week? What'd you go for, Eric?
so match of the week, I am taking Shapovalov beating Medvedev for the Belgrade final. And it wasn't that entertaining of a match per se, but I picked it because it was great for Shapovalov ending his title drought because he hadn't had one since 2019 back in Stockholm. And this is his second title overall. So for a guy that was really up and coming, like 2019 ish, 2018, and then for him to kind of drop off due to injury and whatnot, I feel like this was awesome for him because I'm a fan of Chapo and I'm glad that he was able to find his way back, capitalize on this tournament. And as far as the match itself, both players were holding serve. They both had massive serves, and Chapo had a key break at 4-all in the first, and then consolidated it up to 6-4. And I feel like this was a big turning point in the match because Medvedev was up 30-15, and then Chapo kind of hit a lucky return where he sliced it in a way, but it was like a drop shot and he apologized for it. So I don't think it was like very intentional. And then right after that, 30-all, Medvedev, he had an easy approach shot that he should have put away and then pushed it out wide. So I feel like just that one moment flipped the whole set. And then second set, Chapo broke early. His Medvedevic's first service game, and then just kind of went into cruise control from there. Second set also went to 6-4. And then when Shapo won, he just collapsed to the ground in pure joy, ecstasy, which I love when players do because you really feel the emotion, like the struggle of going through a whole tournament for a week. And yeah, I mean, just exciting tennis in a way. Like the scoreline didn't reflect it, but the points were great. I feel like both players were exciting to watch, hitting, relatively clean winners and good baseline rallies.
Yeah, I mean, definitely cool to see. I think Shapa was also a qualifier in this tourney, so
Yeah, he
always
was.
always interesting when you have the
Hmm.
qualifier make the run through the whole tourney to win it. Uh, I mean, and when you said like the miss hit making a big impact, it's very clear that that does. And we got almost a case study in it in that Fritz versus Medvedev match because Fritz hit that miss hit that lobbed and landed
Hmm.
perfectly on the
Mm.
line. And that was the thing that broke uh, Medvedev there. Like he completely lost it, started throwing his racket around, turned it
Yeah.
around like he was going to hit with the handle of the racket. And so, yeah, that's definitely an important turning point there. I do have a question for you, Eric. What do you think about where Shapovalov is right now and where FAA is right now? Because obviously, FAA we talk about him a lot on this podcast and hasn't been having the best year recently. And honestly, I think if you took away that one performance in Madrid where he got kind of lucky with multiple guys kind of pulling out and
Three
getting out of his
retiring.
way,
Yeah.
they'd be at a relatively similar ranking. So, what do you think about where they are going into next year in terms of how do you think they're going to play?
So, well, where they are right now, it's kind of that inflection point that we've talked about in the past, where one player is, so say moving down is like in the ranking. So you have Chapo moving down, and then you have FA moving up, and they're like at that point right there where I think Chapo is going to continue his like downward momentum as far as in the rankings, like have a better ranking. Where I don't think FAA is done regressing, in
Yeah, if
my
it weren't for that
opinion.
Madrid result, he would have been like
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
like 60 or something crazy
Yeah,
like that.
I was doing the calculation, and it was like it was like 650 points or something for Madrid, and he has like 1,600, so he would lose almost like a third of his ranking. That
Yeah,
just
that's
because
like
jeez.
55 maybe in the
exactly,
rankings. Yeah.
exactly
And then Chapo's he's also
57 or
60,
something.
60. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. 57. I think he moved up like 20 spots.
yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy. Like you said, when Chapo was top 10, he wasn't like winning titles, always coming
Mhm.
short, and now he wins it as a qualifier.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Dude. And then right after the match too, he went on his phone and tweeted. Did you see that? Or
I did not.
you guys aren't on Twitter.
No.
Jeez. Literally a minute after he goes over to the bench, pulls out his phone and says, like, let's go. Bunch of hearts.
Yeah, gotta
Dude,
alert
you gotta
the
love
Twitter
him.
fans.
Yeah. I also just loved watching his one hander.
Yeah.
All
Um,
right. What about you? What was your match of the week?
I went with our boy, the Hungarian headhunter Marozsan,
Mm.
taking out Shang. It was a very close 3 set match. Shang he kind of took over in the first set, won at 6-2, and he has a very nice looking game, very compact, very clean game. But over the next 2 sets, it kind of seemed like Marozsan was able to almost bait Shang into playing his game, where Marozsan he's so controlled with sneaking in those drop shots, and then he kind of baits his opponents to like they start trying to do it, but he's so good at it. Not that many guys can hit drop shots as effectively as he can, and when they do it, he can just come to the net. And he's very comfortable up there and putting away points. And so there were very close sets. The next 2 sets, there was a tie break that he won in the second set, and then there were a couple breaks at the very end of the third. He lost his serve. He was up a break. He lost his serve, then broke back and ended up taking it 7-5. So very close match, but kind of fun to see that he was able to strategize the win here.
Yeah, unfortunately, no head hunting per se because there wasn't a like a top ranked player, but yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff.
Ivan, we call Marozsan the Hungarian headhunter because he obviously takes out
He
those
does.
top
He
guys every
does.
once in a while. Took out Alcaraz, took out Rude. So
He's beaten Rune a few times. Yeah.
exactly.
Cool, man. Well, appreciate you coming on.
Lovely. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Hope this was pretty entertaining. And yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. All right, and that's the show. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Painting Lines Podcast. Feel free to shoot us a DM or email us any questions or thoughts at paintinglinespodcast@gmail.com.